Hello and welcome everyone. This is the first episode of my exclusive podcast titled Shut Up Shash, where we host intellectually driven guests like Miss Poornavi here, who is our first guest. So Miss Poornavi, how do you feel being our first guest here today?
No pressure at all after the lengthy, wonderful introduction you gave me. But yeah, silly and excited.
So on a personal note, Miss Poornavi has been my favorite teacher all through my life. She's intellectual, she's driven, she's extremely curious, and she also went to Geneva, which is why I brought her here. So Miss Poornavi, Christ to ULC to Geneva. Explain to us how that went down.
Geneva was never on the map. Christ, because initially I wanted to do UPSC. You do know that was where you and I connected.
Yeah.
Because you always were like, why is she so curious about everything in life? Christ was because I wanted to do BA, write UPSC, be an administrator. But my dad said, just in case, I think that man had the forethought that none of us did. So he was like, this girl needs to have some backup.
Like as a backup,
needs to have a life. So law was also not on the cards. So I finished my PU. Even before I wrote my second PUC exams, I was enrolled at School of Law, Christ University.
Okay.
What happened the next 5 years is, to be honest, a blur. I met crazy friends, made amazing.
Wish I could say the same.
You did. You have wonderful friends.
I'm kidding. It's like cope. Okay.
Yeah. So
continue.
Law was not even on the cards, but now once you have already done it, I have a chronic OCD to be the best at what I do.
That's amazing.
Ace Law.
She's an LLM gold medalist from Bangalore University and then went on to Geneva to pursue human rights and transitional justice.
That was the only course they were ready to offer me. So.
But still, it was an extremely prestigious university. Can you tell us something about your Geneva experience? Like, how did that go down and why human rights in specific?
After my LLM in Constitution and Admin Law, I had two choices. One, to do my Masters in International Law as such, or carve out a niche, which was human rights. To be honest, after UPSC, I didn't scale UPSC. I was like, if Indian diplomacy is out of my reach, let's eye for international diplomacy. That was the goal with which I decided to go to Geneva.
Like a Shashi Tharoor, did you want to go to that angle
or something like that? Something on that.
Go to Hague and everything.
But yeah, I did. I did envision all that for myself, but life had other plans, and I'm really happy doing what I'm doing right now. Geneva, because it's the epicenter of human rights, and you get out of your hostel, you have UN, WHO, WIPO, and all those big things which were just something that you study in textbooks.
Correct.
And you're only reading them making headlines in the newspaper every single day. So Geneva was the perfect choice. I didn't even apply anywhere else because my father and I decided that Geneva is the place to be.
Stuff of dreams though.
Yeah. And it was a very close call to decide for me to decide to settle there or come back.
Okay. So my next question is, was there ever a point in your life where you thought your career would go another direction?
Not really, because I had it sorted that at the end of the course, I need to place myself somewhere in one of these think tanks or stakeholder organizations to do the sort of research work that I was interested in. But as and when I saw a few professors there, the way they interact and the influence that they have in terms of writing, you can't be an international bureaucrat, that's okay. But these bureaucrats are relying on these academic works written by these wonderful professors who have a super specialization in one particular domain. I was like, okay, I can do this while I'm back home and still be around my family. And I chose that this is great. I'll continue.
Was there anyone famous that you met there? Like anyone? Even in the academic circles, it's fine. We don't need to meet Roger Federer, obviously, from Switzerland. He's the only person I know. But
many of my classmates did buy a ticket to go on one of those Wednesdays and Sundays that he has practice sessions.
He auctions those charity games also. That's awesome. But any academic celebrity?
I think Professor Clara, she's a special rapporteur for human rights issues in
Is this United Nations?
United Nations.
Okay. Clara Sandoval is a Colombian-born human rights lawyer and one of the leading global experts on transitional justice. She has litigated and served as a reparations expert for the International Criminal Court. She has also conducted professional visits to the ICJ, the International Court of Justice, and regional human rights tribunals.
She was also my guide, and we both had long discussions on how ecocide should be put as a fourth crime before the ICC. ICC has only 3 crimes: genocide, crimes against humanity, and can't think of the third one now.
That's okay. So ecocide, you
ecocide.
Said. What does that
basically,
mean?
Like how you're trying to eliminate the entire genealogy or ethnicity of a particular
environment
tribe.
Related,
you're losing out environment in all of the current way of warfare.
Okay.
So that is what my recommendation was, and I think currently UN is deliberating on making ecocide a crime. So it's a largely debated topic, and her insights on that topic really was something that impressed me. And we only used to read textbooks of these persons as the authoritative subject textbooks, but these are our teachers there.
Like you actually see them in person.
Exactly. It was awesome. A wonderful opportunity.
That's amazing. We're very proud of you for representing India in such a prestigious international environment.
There's so many more people who are more accomplished than me who are my classmates. And they're just 23, 24 years old.
How was it rubbing shoulders with young people who were so accomplished and,
No, that's what I keep seeing even in classes these days. I have students who run businesses. I have students who run NGOs. They are literally doing much more than what we used to do when we were 22, 23.
What's the point of difference that, as a millennial, when you're seeing the current lot, the Gen Z, what's the one point of difference you would say that really stands out?
The way they are creating opportunities for themselves, like there's a student who manages the social media page for the nail salon that I run purely out of passion. Was that something that was available for us 10, 15 years ago?
Makes sense.
Not. And they are doing this day on day on different aspects. Amuses me how they are trying to build content. I think it's the entire content economy that is
booming right now,
and the economic opportunities the students are making out of
huge opportunity.
Huge, very different, something that I can't relate or understand at all.
Which is exactly why we are creating a podcast.
Nowadays, most countries are losing patience with the UN. They can't stop wars. They can't stop military takeovers. So many countries are asking,
why is the UN so unpopular? Is that true? And why are there so many misconceptions about the United Nations amongst the common public?
Interesting question, but I did not know UN was unpopular. I think for India, UN might seem to be a little upper-handed, but for countries, when you're talking about countries in the global south and the least developed countries, their voice is heard only here, and their economy does not supply enough GDP to meet all the growing problems that they are having.
An example?
Let us assume that you're talking about a small island country in the Pacific, or you're talking about a country in Africa. If not for WHO and it bringing resources and research in terms of cure for the growing viruses, Ebola, there is a different mutant version every single day. They don't have enough infrastructure to cater to these needs. You definitely need an institution which has the infrastructure, knowledge, research base, finance base to cater to these needs. How are you going to compare them? How are you going to cater to their needs given their level of development? That's not going to happen. And 1948 UNHDR, Declaration of Human Rights, said right to life is available to everybody. Sitting here in India, which has a far more better democracy index and equity index, etc. You can't be speaking about the problems that these third world countries
war-torn,
impoverished, civil war-ridden, famished countries face. They need somebody to guide them, handhold them through their difficult phases.
So your claim is that there is actual substantial on-ground work that is being performed?
Definitely.
Which doesn't reach the public on social media, so to say.
Exactly. So our idea is influenced by the media portrayal that USA gave support to WHO. USA is withdrawing from UNESCO. Hello. we do need people to cater to the tribal communities in Africa. If not for UNESCO and its sort of work, how are children even getting basic education?
Right.
One small simple episode from Geneva. I had a host of friends coming from Western Africa. And when I was brushing my teeth, I would leave my tap open. And the way they are woke and sensitive about wasting one single drop of water speaks volumes of the sort of conditions they are coming from. The way we see human rights to the way they see human rights is absolutely different.
It actually affects them, like the first-hand victims of a conflict.
Let me also talk about WIPO, an allied institution of UN. We are talking about infringing intangible heritage, as in traditional heritage, traditional culture of Ayurveda, etc., etc. They are talking about preserving the most native species and of plants. If not for WIPO and its work, where are they going to get their protection? Tomorrow, some first world country biotech pharma is going to come, exploit it, label it, brand it, and gonna start making money for themselves. How are you going to give money to these people? How are you going to elevate their...
That's an extremely interesting take.
This is what is not shown on media, as you rightly put it, but trust me, there's a whole lot of disturbed way of life that these people are living, and you need organizations which have knowledge, which have resources, which have infrastructure to cater to this.
And UN does exactly that.
It is doing that while it's also doing other things that the media is talking about. And hence the misconception that maybe UN is not as important,
as efficient as it could be.
Yes.
And you had an internship or a stint at the CCPR. Can you tell us what that is and how your experience went down?
Center for Civil and Political Rights. So basically, because my specialization was human rights, there is a organ called as the United Nations Human Rights Council. Now, they require nations of the world on a review periodical basis to come and talk about how much they have worked towards protecting human rights. As every narrative can go, it can be one-sided, where the government is quoting a rosy version that they have done all needful, all that is there necessary within their means and bounds to cater to human rights. There are civil society organizations who are going to be the third-party investigators, bring it to the notice of the UNHRC to say, yes, country X said that they have been paying their laborers for any developmental work that undertook. Civil society organizations are going to highlight and say that please read this article, we have XYZ data which speaks otherwise. This is how civil society organizations are instilling accountability amongst these governments, like how it happens in a regular parliamentary setup, where the opposition keeps the ruling party in check. Civil society organizations are keeping the government in check.
So it's primarily accountability.
So CCPR was one such organization which was helping nations curate their third party, that is civil society stakeholder appraisals for the UNHRC work. So on that 6-month internship, about 8 months we interned there. In that 8 months, there were about 12 countries which were undergoing the UPR, that is Universal Periodic Review, and we got the opportunity to meet who's who of that government and regional organizations, that is grassroots NGOs, who updated to us as to what is the sort of non-compliance that is happening, or how the data is very different from the government's narrative. We got tea on the world's most 12 important countries that were in cycle that cycle. That was the sort of work I did at CCPR.
Sunshine. It was an amazing POV from you, Ms. Poornavi. How important do you think such international exposure is to upcoming students and lawyers and everyone in this circle, academic circle, essentially?
To be honest, when a host of my friends from Christ started applying for foreign universities right after their LLB, it didn't make sense to me. And in my defense, I thought UPSC, I don't need to worry about this. And even when I was making that expensive choice to move to Geneva, it didn't make sense. But now that I'm back here, the way that I have grown, the resilience, the exposure, the friends I've made, the stories I've heard, I think I can never be the Poornavi before Geneva. And my classmates were people who were 45 plus, and my classmates were also who were 19 to 20.
Both ends of
They
the
were from the global north, they were from the global south. The sort of things they have gone through to get there, and how they see human rights and education and etc., to the version that the global south sees is different. And us being these in between, we are not developed, we are not underdeveloped, we are in that developing state. For us to see life and rights and democracy is very different to how these two extremes.
So coming from a place of privilege, basically, we see first-hand victims of a conflict or war. And
exactly.
famine,
and how a student from the global north reacts to a topic that has been put for deliberation.
Do you have an example, like a classroom interaction of a friend or someone like that? And from which country were they?
I think I would not like to state it,
okay,
but
yeah, sure.
We were talking about it. It was a class on victim and human rights.
Okay.
It was again Professor Clara speaking about certain things. So I had a friend from Colombia and I had a friend from North America who were both deliberating on their current regime. And the way the student from North America speaks about democracy, rights, transparency, accountability, human rights, to the way this person from Southern America talks about it, and the way we see those rights is completely
from
different.
A third person perspective.
It's completely different because we have not gone through that. And for us, I think even when I'm in class, a student asks, "Ma'am, you studied human rights. What's so great about human rights?" Trust me, unless and until you have gone through the whole hustle,
until you see it in front of your eyes,
you will not realize it.
That's true.
And that was one side. Now you come back to your hostel and you have friends from across the globe, and they're so very curious about what India is. They're talking about why do people don't have love marriages, So there very you're having academic discourses. You come back here and you say, what is casteism? Do people only marry their brothers and sisters? These were the sort of questions that I was answering. And why do you guys use turmeric so much in your cooking?
That's hilarious.
Learning the national dishes of all my classmates from Mexico to Philippines.
Wow.
I had the time of my life.
Filipino food? Are you a fan?
Trust me, I don't think anybody can beat my sticky rice.
Okay.
So that's the awesome sort of exposure that
so you were like in a global hostel of sorts. That's amazing.
Yes. And the sort of freedom that it brings you is also very different. And I was somebody who was very sheltered.
Was this your first time outside India?
It was the first time I ever traveled out of India and without my parents.
Was it a culture shock at first? Did you take time to adjust?
Very. Because racism is something that you have just heard that happened, let's say, in country X.
Were you a first-time victim of racism?
Yes. Okay. Believe me, I want to put this on air and you need to listen to this story.
Sure. You're free to do so.
So, you read in your history textbooks that XYZ happened. This was history. This was how we resolved it.
Gandhi did
XYZ, and this is all about it. Fast forward to you moving to world's #1 country, Switzerland. I get out of the airport. I take my luggage and I go to my place where I have booked my stay.
Okay.
Of course, now there's no resources to make sure you eat. It was a 16-hour flight. I walk out to a pizzeria close by and I have money to pay 28 Swiss francs for the pizza. That guy asked me to go out and sit because he thought I will not be able to afford it.
Was this a Swiss national?
Swiss national.
Okay.
And it's about 15-20 minutes. There's still nobody waiting on my table. And then I go and ask them, I want to order a pizza in my broken French. And his next response is, it's 28 Swiss francs. I'm like, dude, I can pay, but can you not do this? And this was, let's say, an hour after I landed. It was a huge blow to me. And I went home. You know that initial fear where you are quickly calling up your dad and crying, saying, what is this? Am I to live in this country for an entire year?
Yes. That's true.
Then you realize that this is how things are. But racism is definitely there. Then there is I want to share 2 episodes.
Sure,
if it's,
you're free to do so.
Fine. There's a mall called Lidl. That's where you go. It's like our more, affordable. People go buy their groceries there, right out of my college hostel. You have to wear jeans and shoes. If you go without, if you go with your open toe flip flops or any of those chappals, any of those footwear, you don't belong. It's like, you're shoplifting sort of a thing. One other thing about Geneva that mesmerized me is you don't have store managers billing you. You have automated machines, so you buy whatever it is. It is independent, giving you huge scope to shoplift while they're
testing us.
Sort of. But why would you do that? Because there are cameras everywhere. So one day I was lazy. I had run out of one important item that I wanted for my cook. So I quickly went in my home clothes. I picked up what I wanted. I paid for it. I came back. One lady from inside who was sitting and watching the CCTV came and made sure she checked my entire bag. I'm like, excuse me. Just because I'm not dressed like a fancy person, you think I can't afford it? Like, what is happening?
So if I was there, they'd probably jail me immediately. Just based on looks. That would be pretty crazy.
And even when they are ferrying us from one part of the lake to another part of the lake, me and my friends, a couple of them from Africa, a couple of them from Mexico, we were going to the other part of the lake, and 2-3 friends from Middle East also. We weren't loud, mind you, we weren't loud. But the people who were sharing the boat with us, it's a public boat.
Okay, got it. It's a public ferry.
They made sure we sat quietly, we didn't make noise, we didn't talk, and the way they act as if we are walking, and I'm like, excuse me.
So it's like subtle classism. But I'm happy you're breaking popular misconceptions about Switzerland. So, this white supremacy sort of stuff is present globally. It's not just that,
it is there everywhere, and it is not just to anybody. Even if you're absolutely dressed, if you're Asian, you are going to
100%.
Get it. You get out of a Benz, you get out of a limousine, get out of a tram.
That thing is not leaving you. That thing is not leaving you. The fact that you're from the subcontinent or from Asia, from an impoverished country, according to
the
them,
global south.
Correct. Okay. Yeah. So I'm happy you're breaking those popular, conceptions about such countries. Like Switzerland is known to be a politically neutral, happy-go-lucky country. But, the fact that Miss Poornavi has faced such issues of racism and classism is also something we should be aware about, at least. So it's amazing about your international exposure. I'm very happy about, your experience and stuff like that. So let's now travel back to India. Now, you've been a constitutional law professor at PES. You've got an LLM gold medal from Bangalore University. You've done your Christ LLB. So you have...
Shashwik, you're putting me under pressure.
No, it's fine.
Can we cut the flattery?
No, that's. I mean, I'm being honest. I'm just mentioning your credentials.
Yes, please.
So you have more than decent exposure to law. Even the fact that you're a professor right now at Ramaya. So what I want to ask you is, what is one thing in the Constitution that stands out to you, the Indian Constitution, like globally at least?
To be honest, I think what stands out to me, because I've fairly understood the Constitution. I know what it has.
Yeah.
But the way we have been able to assimilate the Constitution into changing values is something that speaks volumes of what a perfect living document our draft is.
Okay.
So, I mean, you are free to agree to disagree, but I believe that from 1947 to now, from procedure established by law to due process of law, from an agriculturist economy to a service-oriented economy, from fundamental rights as envisioned to Shreya Singhal versus Union of India and Joseph Stein versus Union of India, and abolishing 377.
Yeah.
We have come a long way without losing the core integrity of what Constitution stood for.
What
I think
is the core integrity?
That is what stands out. I don't want to use basic structure, but our Constitution has been malleable to each and every transformation that the decade has
seen,
expected of us. So I think that's why just 3 days ago we were celebrating Constitution Day, and it was like a festival for me. Like you're so passionate about something and
it's close to your heart.
It's close to my heart.
Yeah.
So I think I'll never stop being that
passionate
about that about constitution. Like I think you can ask any of my students. I carry great passion to my class when I'm teaching constitution.
That's amazing. And do you think it covers for human rights? You've seen so much exposure for human rights abroad. Or do you think the Indian constitution is doing enough in terms of human rights in India, at least? Not for us privileged people, but for the people who are actually first-hand victims.
But I believe that our constitution, the human rights landscape, and the sort of labor rights and the other statutes that we have has enough to cater to the current needs.
Right.
So I'm not going to say that there is a huge gap between what we need to achieve, but we are almost there. We just need refinements here and there to make it that perfect circle.
I wanted to know from you personally, as a former consti law professor.
Not former, I still teach constitution.
Okay, yeah. So current consti law teacher. One popular judgment that the citizens overhype too much, and one that's sort of underrated.
You see, I have taught like 8 batches by now. For them, constitution is equal to Keshav Nanda Bharati.
Yeah.
I mean, you understand.
Yeah.
That or it's Maneka Gandhi. And Maneka Gandhi for them is equal to the golden triangle 14, 19, 21. Whenever this is the first approach the students give me, I break the ice, I stop teaching and I tell them, great, we understand that there are underlying basic principles that all of us have to make sure we preserve and we don't let any government or any law affect it. That was only the first chapter. But Keshav Nanda Bharati and basic structure found its logical conclusion in I.R. Coelho versus Union of India, a 2008 judgment about Keshav Nanda Bharati was on 24th April 1973, followed by 2008. This was the logical growth progression from where the entire basic structure doctrine was formed day after day, day after day. 1992, Kyoto Holohan spoke about Schedule 10 and, like each and every case knit new principles and ideals to basic structure.
Yeah, okay.
So I believe students or anybody are not supposed to have that narrow vision that Keshav Nanda Bharati, Maneka Gandhi, we know what happened.
It doesn't end there.
It doesn't end there. What happened in P.V. Narasimha Rao in 1997 to Sita Soren, there's a difference. And the judgment is not that. It's the logic with which the judges are curating and explaining why this is acceptable, why this is not acceptable.
Right.
That transformational constitutionalism is what strikes at my face, and I'm like, great, we have evolved. We have seen Krishna here and we have seen Bhagavati. Now we are seeing a host of them coming up with new lines of reasoning, which is not what was traditional constitution.
Right.
So it keeps growing. What is not hyped? Joseph Shine versus Union of India.
So you're saying Joseph Shine is an underrated judgment, right?
Now I think after Keshav Nanda Bharati, everyone is going to obsess about K.S. Puttaswamy versus Union of India.
So for the benefit of our viewers, can you tell us what was underlined in Joseph Shine?
Yeah, first? Joseph Shine, basically, if you ask anybody, and the first 2-3 lines of every case study on every blog will speak about adultery being a non-criminal offense thereafter. But the nuanced reasoning as to why court spoke about this private personal liberty to be not something that the courts need to interfere about. The reasoning that they came to explain this is something that speaks volumes of how they see our constitution to be a living document. I mean, great, we have right to privacy, we have all of those rights, but it's not for the government or the judiciary to
decide,
instruct and dictate how one should live his or her life. That nuanced articulation was something that people don't talk about. For them, they were like, oh, adultery is no longer an offense. That's it. But how did they arrive at that? That is what strikes me.
What did you find so fascinating in the judgment write-down that
they speak about constitutional morality from an evolving perspective,
historically,
and not
and then,
1947, not 1973.
okay,
They speak about constitutional morality in a growing
so moral
landscape.
underlining, there were
Yes.
underlining morals of different
Yes.
landscape. Yeah.
And morality is also something that is shifting. 1947, it made absolute sense to have a crime like that. 2018, when the judgment was given, five wonderful, it was a 5-judge bench. We had DY Chandrachud, we had Deepak Mishra, the then CJI.
Yes.
Two of their opinions that I had read back in 2018. The way they articulate how constitutional morality has undergone a change and how they explain why this can no longer be a criminal offense.
Was there any
Amazing.
one thing that really
Nothing that I can remember at the top of my head, but 2018 to this day, before K.S. Puttaswamy, I think Joseph Sign is something that I'll remember.
But this is a very proud moment for the Indian judiciary as such, because we've all known it's been so unpopular for decades. But this is coming from the common citizens who have almost little to no exposure about these judgment write-downs and what they actually articulate within those judgments. So can you tell us why this notion has been formed among society about these courts? Why are they so slow? Why are they not expeditious enough? Why do they lack a spine sort of sense? So this is the popular opinion amongst society. Can you clear this
misconception? That is there because I think people think that you file a case, it's going to take 3 to 5 years for adjudication, for the judgment to come, and then
legislative fatigue. Yeah.
I think it's just that. But let me tell you, the courts are doing what they're doing. They are overburdened and they're overworked. But what is happening? Law is being applied, judgments are coming. I think it's the narrative that the lawyers give their client, saying, we'll get you a favorable order, and they go up to another order on an appeal, and the court is again reiterating the same thing. But where do you stop? Like, where do you tell the client, trust me, what has come off the first court of first instance is actually what you will all get.
Yeah.
Because I was speaking to one of my friends when I was in Geneva with regard to how client counseling happens vis-a-vis what happens in India. In India, a client comes, we file a case. Like, hey, don't worry, we will get you a favorable order. And they file the petition, they take the first payment, and then the next time they're meeting the client is after months, after a year probably.
Exactly.
That's not the sort of thing that happens back there. They spend hours before pre-trial litigation to let the client know and give them an opportunity if they can take it out of court and settle it right there and then.
All right.
This is not happening here, and lawyers are there everywhere, filing cases. What could have been adjudicated upon in the privacy of a room with an arbiter and etc. That would have stopped the fatigue on the system.
So does ADR address this concern, alternative dispute resolution?
Right now, I have come to realize that alternative dispute resolution is something which is the need of the hour, and it needs to get more platform and support than ever before, because without diluting what Supreme Court and the traditional legal system can do, this is definitely necessary, because bitcoins, cryptocurrency, such other things are not what our adjudicators are well versed to be speaking about. Talk about question of law in terms of constitutional interpretation, statutory interpretation.
We are there.
Perfect.
The evolving
companies
landscape.
Are fighting about bitcoins and cryptocurrency and UPI payments and deep fakes and election manifesto which has been run from a prison. And the voices of somebody else.
Right. Deep fakes, yeah. This is exactly what I wanted to come to. That do you think India's legal landscape is addressing these lacunas in terms of how digital evolution is ongoing right now, globally at least?
Being the epitome of positivity that I am on every aspect of life, I want to be hopeful that as we have evolved in the last 76 years, we will evolve to cater to these institutions. And I believe it's not so much in terms of institutions evolving, but them interpreting words like liberty, equality, life, privacy.
Okay.
You they are words which are elastic. Give the judiciary the free hand to make sense of these words to be applicable to the recent times. I don't think we need a new constitution or a new institution.
Because what was very noticeable in the last few years is, there were a lot of lacunas regarding blockchain and, NFTs, crypto, Web3, and etc., etc. So what your opinion is that we will get there?
We will get there. Give enough time to anything and then we will get there. Now, 2018, 2019, RBI spoke about bringing regulations for cryptocurrency and bitcoins. But government said, 1 second, let's hold back. Let's see how the other countries are faring with regard to the regulation of this gray area. And we are going to learn, pick up the BOP, best of practices from these countries and apply.
Got it.
We will get there, but just give enough time to any institution to self-sustain any cycle.
Right.
That is life.
That's awesome. And I've heard you also visited Bangalore ADR week a couple of weeks ago, just a few days ago. I wanted to know one highlight that you found in your visit to the conference.
It's amazing how the entire traditional judicial system was present there to support something that was taking cases off their table.
Yeah.
Like all the judges, all the tier 1 law firms, all the legal practitioners who are into traditional legal landscape were there supporting the agenda, speaking volumes of why we need a parallel out of court settlement sort of a thing, which is ADR. And I think it speaks about their vision that there needs to be a parallel to what is the current traditional setup.
It's amazing that
I think it's the support and the platform and the vision that it got from its own community that was the hallmark of that week for me. Yeah,
how the legal fraternity came together for something so foreign.
Yes. That was something that really stood out for me.
Right.
And now I've been given an in charge to be the faculty coordinator for the Center for ADR at my current workplace. I've come back. I honestly thought I'm going to stick to doing my work with regard to human rights and environmental law, which was my specialization. But I feel like I'm slowly leaning towards specializing in ADR.
Wow. Okay.
Because it is potently evident that this is going to be the next big thing. So why would you not want to be the catch up on the trend before it's too late?
All right, Ms. Poornavi, we've spoken so much. We're approaching the end of our pilot podcast. You've been a wonderful guest.
Thank you.
Now, one last concluding question I wanted to ask you is, if you could speak to a law student today who is asking you how to stay intellectually alive in a fast-changing legal landscape, what would you tell him or
her? Interesting. What I do, that I believe keeps me at the tip of everything that's happening, I spend an hour watching Palki Sharma's first post.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Okay. So it's my daily high. Like, I just need to know what's happening in the world.
Right.
And unfortunately, the information that the current generation and a host of my students get is off of Instagram.
Right.
So if that information isn't trending, they are totally clueless about what's going on.
Unless it's on a colored carousel Instagram post.
Exactly.
We are not aware of
exactly.
it. That's an excellent point. Actually.
Exactly.
Can you delve more into that?
They know more about the concerts in the new pizzerias and eateries and parties that are happening.
Very in the unpopular opinion, but we'll let her speak. Yeah. Continue, please.
That to snippets of parliamentary debates happening in the parliament, to some snippets of the courtroom recordings that are blown out of context is the information that they are getting.
So the clip farming. Clips.
So I think that any person to be fully aware of what's happening needs to do their ground research. So I keep advising to my students, as you scroll Instagram, scroll news websites like that, or you listen to any one newspaper, one news podcast continuously for 3 months, you will know what's happening across the world, across the globe.
So you're saying we've become consumers of purely headlines and not delving into the actual subject matter. Now, how do we solve this? This looks pretty systemic. Like,
I am truly driven by getting to the root of why US did what, why Brazil, why South Africa was uninvited from the next G20 summit.
Right.
Like only when you read a news podcast is she going to watch a podcast is she going to say that the US president was not there to collect the gavel from the outgoing president.
Right.
He wanted a foreign minister to do it, and they felt, no, this is not protocol, and he did not return the gavel to the South African president did not give the gavel to the US foreign minister. US decided to uninvite South Africa from the next G20 summit. I'm like,
so there's global
this is the sort of drama that gets me high. And I keep reading about all of these things, as opposed to who married who walked out of which party, what was she wearing while she went to the airport, are not things that amuses me. But yes, this is my tea, and I get high on international gossip.
So you'd rather Trump versus Brazil than Janvi Kapoor go to the airport.
Exactly, sir.
That's amazing. And with that, we come to the end of our podcast. Ms. Poornavi, you've been a wonderful guest. Thank you so much
for
giving your insights into global diplomacy and even Indian affairs. See you later.